So we've seen the main components for a pivot table. Let's now have a look at the report filter option. So if we take the employees file and just insert a simple pivot table, so insert pivot table, it picks up the correct data and we'd like to place our pivot table in a new worksheet. Okay. And we'll place the salary into the value section. And we'll place the department into the rows section. Now that creates our little easy pivot table and summarizes the count of the salary, which is not what we're after. We'd like it to sum, and we therefore have a total salary bill for each department. Now the page filtering, the report filtering, the pivot table filtering section is this little section here. Now if we drop a field into there, so for example the marital status, then this appears above our pivot table. So you can see now why a little space is always left when Excel creates a pivot table for you. It's for the report filtering. Now in the little drop list here, we'll see all the unique values. So for the marital status, there's MAR, DIV, SIN, and then blank. There are some blank entries. And we can use this to filter our report. So I can choose MAR, and it will filter and only show me the married employees. I can go back in, choose DIV, and it will show me the divorced employees. So any departments now not needed are effectively removed from the list. So we can change to any of the other marital status. Now what we can also do in this report filter is to select multiple items, but it's not on by default. We need to click this option here, and then you'll see you can actually choose more than one item. So we could see married and divorced. Okay. And then it currently says multiple items because it cannot display them, but the result is for married and divorced people. So that's the report filter. Now you can place any field in there that makes sense to you. I could put sex in there as well. And you can see how the pivot table has moved down. And in the sex, I can choose 1 or 2. 1 male, 2 females. Okay. And now these filters are compounding. So we're now seeing males that are married and divorced. Let's return that to a single choice so we can always see it. So that's males that are divorced. And we could even add another field in, obviously one that would make sense to have a top level filter, something like county, perhaps can go in there. You can see county appears as well. And again, it simply lists all the unique values in there. And I choose the filtering option, so North Yorkshire, males, divorced, and we're looking at 37,600 the total salary bill in warehousing. That very much looks like a single person. If you want to see all of the options, you choose all. If you want to remove the filtering altogether, you simply take that field and remove it from the filtering list. So now we just have marital status and sex. Now notice that when we removed that field, it didn't then put this row back up. So when you add one in, it will move everything down, but it doesn't tidy itself back up when you remove one. Now a clever little thing that you can do with the report filters, if I take this actual filter off so we see all of the marital status and all of the sex, so both male and female, what I can do is get Excel to split out separate pivot tables for each of the marital status, for example. Now that's achieved by clicking into your pivot table, going up to the Pivot Table Tools ribbon and Analyze. Coming along to the left-hand side here where it says Pivot Table, and in the drop-down we have Options, and in the drop-down for Options we have Show Report Filter Pages. So it's a few steps to get to the option, but it's a very useful thing to be able to do, and that is to bring up the Pivot Table Tools ribbon onto the Analyze sub-ribbon, cross to Pivot Table on the left here, pops out to Options, and the options pop out to Show Report Filter Pages. When I choose that option, because I have 2 report filters, I'm then given the choice of either the sex or the marital status. So I'm going to choose marital status and then OK. And you see that we actually get a separate tab for each of the filter options. And all it's doing is effectively filtering it for me. So it's showing me the married filter, the divorce filter, the single filter, and in fact the blank one as well, which actually has no salary. So that takes my single pivot table and effectively creates 4 more. I could have done it manually, I could have copied and pasted this sheet and then applied a separate filter for each of the pivot tables. But I've allowed Excel to do the work for me. So that's the report filtering. You can drop any field you like into that report filter section and it will offer you that option to filter by all the unique values in that field. So it needs to be a sensible field that you choose for there, a relevant field. And then we have the extra option here of effectively creating multiple pivot tables from each of those unique options.